Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the November edition of Connections. Thank you for taking the time to join us here today. Today, of course, we find ourselves in the month of November. So for our opening prayer, our opening meditation, I invite you to join me in a prayer that is very well known to most of us. But before the prayer, we could just pause for a few seconds, and perhaps you might want to recall someone in your life, perhaps a parent, a spouse, someone deceased in your family, a friend, a coworker, so that all together as CNEWA family, we can remember that person. Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. May the souls of the faithful departed, through the mercy of God, rest in peace. Amen. We've all prayed together now for the intention which you brought into this moment and made these connections. In addition, I would like to also invite you, for those of you who are familiar with our custom and perhaps are familiar with the Friday edition of CNEWA World, I invite everyone to please submit to me names of deceased family members, friends, co-workers, someone that you would like to have remembered. Send them to intentions@cnewa.org. The names that we receive here, I will bring and place on the altar in the chapel of the CNEWA residence. And then throughout the month of November, when I offer Mass there in the chapel, each of those people whose names are there will be remembered at the sacrifice of the Mass. Please, you're most welcome to do that, and I appreciate it. Just by way of update, since the last time that we were together in October to share with you, as I had mentioned, we remain committed to the three priorities that I have tried to articulate. First, in terms of our CNEWA priorities, the power of prayer. The power of prayer in effecting the mission of CNEWA, what we are about, the journey that you are accompanying us on. Please pray with us as we've prayed together this afternoon. Also, that we be informed, that we be educated in the many different regions and over the many different issues that CNEWA faces on a daily basis. I ask you to go and to read on our website from the blog there and to be updated in terms of the current edition of One magazine, to be able to see what are the issues that CNEWA is dealing with, how are we trying to face them, and to be involved through being informed and articulate the mission of CNEWA to people that you know. And then third priority, of course, is to seek your help, your protection, your generous donations. I can't thank you enough for the very generous donations that we receive, and it remains something that allows us to keep focused on the mission. Everything is about mission, joining us on the mission, helping us to try to continue to answer the question of the parable of the Good Samaritan, who is my neighbor? And we try to answer that through our prayer, through being informed, and through our donations. Since our last time together, our last connection in October, we were able to have, and I'm very grateful to the team that put together a wonderful art exhibit in Pelham, New York. Many people came. It gave us an opportunity to meet new friends, gave us an opportunity to explore the importance of the relationship between art and the preservation of culture, particularly with regard to the donations we received for Ukraine. Also, it was as we continue with these attempts to cultivate these strategic initiatives for both friend-raising and fundraising. Most recently, we had an exhibit of CNEWA art at the Sheen Center in Lower Manhattan. That event in Lower Manhattan at the Sheen Center has been linked to our fundraiser that will be coming up on December 13th. This will be the inaugural annual dinner that CNEWA will organize. And you can, of course, again, go there to the website, or you see on the screen where you can get more information about our December 13th dinner. To the co-chairs of both the November event and the December event, that which is coming up, I want to express my gratitude, yes, to Amanda Bowman and to our Director of Communications, Michael La Savita. I thank them, and I thank the teams, Creative Services, our development team, all that are involved, the host the host committee now working on this event for December 13th. It is an opportunity for us to come together. It is an opportunity for us to make new friends. It is an opportunity to share what experiences we're having as we move along on this journey. I'd also like to make reference to the fact that what is unique about this particular time, this program here together, is that something I started back in September, bringing our workers who are working in different fields to come here to the show to present to you what their work is and where it is. That's an opportunity that we're going to have in a few minutes. I'm going to welcome here the director of our office in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, and it'll be a great honor to welcome him in just a few moments. But before I do that, I'd like to make one more reference to something that's coming up, but something that you all know, what we refer to as Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday is going to come on the 29th of November. It's the Tuesday that follows Thanksgiving. And we all have so much to be so grateful for. So I ask you, as you plan your own Giving Tuesday, to be thinking about giving CNEWA support. In what area? One very specific area, and an area that is very dear to my own heart. As many of you know, before I came to CNEWA, I worked 30 years, full-time formation work for those who are preparing for the priesthood, and often at times to be able to be in communication with those who are willing and ready to dedicate their lives as religious women. Priests and religious women are throughout the CNEWA world. We would not be able to give the missionary service that we give without them. But we need your support to help in their formation, to help in their training. And so I would ask you to go to the website and follow the prompting for Giving Tuesday, November 29th, when you will be able to now help with those who are preparing to serve throughout the world where CNEWA is as priests and as religious women. We are so grateful to them. I made reference to the work that the religious women do every day throughout our world, in particularly where they are there in the support of children and in the support of children and young women who are being trafficked. The horrific crime of trafficking and the on-the-spot work that is being done in a heroic way by religious women throughout our world. We want to support them. I ask you to consider them on Giving Tuesday, November 29th. With that, let me turn now to the great guest that I've invited to be with us today, Argaw Fantu, who has served for years now as director of our office in Addis. Argaw.
Thank you, Monsignor. I am Argaw Fantu, Regional Director for CNEWA Ethiopia office. Just to start with a brief introduction of the country, Ethiopia is the second most populous country in the Horn of Africa, next to Nigeria, with a total population of more than 123 million. And Ethiopia is also one of the poorest country with a high population growth, and also with the majority of young people, about 60% of the population under the age of 25. Here also, just to CNEWA, in CNEWA Addis Ababa office, with the staff, we are 4 full-time staff and with 2 part-timers. And with this also, we try to reach out to the needs of the church, supporting for about 46 programs and 45 projects, altogether between 90 to 100 activities along the different areas of the church. Here also, during the past 2 years, the country has really affected by the war that affected mainly in the northern part of the country, but also not only the northern part, also people in Ethiopia are highly affected by the impact of the war, the tension, the feelings and others. And it is among this situation that CNEWA strived a lot to serve the needs of the country, the needs of the church in this part of the country. Just to give a highlight of what activities CNEWA specifically performs is that In these 90 to 100 programs, the different activities which engage the formation program of basically the seminary in 5 locations, and also the formation of religious sisters, and also educational provision to a number of schools of the Catholic institutions, and also provision of the orphanage services for the orphan children in most remote areas of the country, and also for those abandoned children. And also there are people who are marginalized because of poverty, because of their local situation, like the northwestern part of the country, in the southern part, and some pocket areas. So these people also are provided, in particular, the majority of young people provided with educational provision. And also the main emphasis of the church is also the educational need for girls. Girls' education through provision of schools, through the provision of hostel facilities, and also through the provision of different educational materials. And at the same time, in these schools also, there are different feeding programs to the needs of these children. There are children in remote areas who walk for an hour and more without food. And these children, they need also some food supply, feeding support through the services that are provided in these Catholic institutions in different parts of the country. So these are the basic services that the church is really engaged in responding to the needs of the church, where in particular religious sisters are more engaged in these services with the assistance of professionals like teachers, like catechists. And also there are university programs, that means university chaplaincy programs. These young people who are in the universities also, they need accompaniment, formation in the faith, formation in human formation and assistance. So these are where the church needs to be assisted in all the different areas of supports. The religious formation of new and young girls who are accompanied also in these provisions. So these are the main service areas that CNEWA accompanies the needs of the local church in Ethiopia in a very large and vast situations.
Argaw, thank you so much for your presentation and for sharing with our viewers the good work that you and your team are doing there in Addis and throughout Ethiopia. I'd like to welcome back to Connections Thomas Varghese. You met him last month. Thomas serves as the director of our programs. Right now, Thomas and Argaw are putting together an itinerary that Thomas and I will be able to follow in just a couple of weeks when we go and pay our visit to programs that we have in Egypt and then on to spend time in Ethiopia with Argaw and his staff. Thomas, I appreciate your comments and hear how the trip is coming.
Thank you, Monsignor. Argaw, it's wonderful to see you, even though we are far apart, but we feel as though we are very close to each other in the same room. As you have prepared this itinerary for our travel to Ethiopia this month, I would like to point out, you have pointed out that we should be visiting the JRS Urban Refugee Center. Can you give a comment on what is the importance of that place?
Yeah, this JRS Urban Refugee Center is the only refugee center that is run by the Jesuits to support those refugees, in particular from different parts of Africa, in particular from Eritrea, from Sudan, South Sudan, even from Central Africa and Congo, who cross the border areas and those who are also allowed to resettle in urban areas. So Jesuit Refugee Service is the only center that provides or accompanies the needs of these refugees in urban areas who need essential supports like the fooding, like educational needs and those training.
Thank you, Argaw. Looking forward into other areas which you have listed, I see even Kidane Mehret as one of the institutions. Can you give me some more update on Kidane Mehret and their activity, and who are the sisters who are responsible for that institution?
Yeah, Kidane Mehret is by the Ethiopian name that means Covenant of Mercy, which is also run by the religious sisters, Franciscan missionary sisters of the Heart of Jesus. They are really dedicated to the service of abandoned children. As you may see, some of these children, these are abandoned children from 1 month of age up to year of 14 or 15, who don't have families or who are abandoned for various reasons, economic reasons or displacement or other reasons. So these sisters, they provide basically the basic needs for these children: shelter in the first place, and food, and also education. So many young children who pass through this orphanage, now they are able to have a better living condition through acquiring their education and also provision, in particular love, care, and also accompaniment in this center.
Thank you, Argaw. Look, going forward, looking into it again, more locations. Give me an update on the Benedictine Monastery.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. This is a religious congregation. Is newly established by the dedication and commitment and also visionary invocation of a nun that is called in Ethiopia Emahoi. That means an honorary name to a nun. So she started a new congregation, and now she has a number of girls who are following the footsteps of this new vocation in her convent. Now she has 3. Recently also they have professed their first profession. So she is really doing a great missionary service and also vocational promotion to the church service.
Thank you, Argaw. Now I'm going to switch track onto our program itself, other than our travels. Of course, tell me something more on food and nutritional program which you have in Ethiopia.
Yeah, this food and nutritional need in Ethiopia is becoming a very demanding situation. One is that the recent war in Tigray has really created a great need to feed, in particular, mothers and children who are also displaced from their home area because of war, and also who are unable also to return to their location because of the continued situation of this war. And also there are schools in remote areas where there is food shortage, that they need a kind of supplementary food as the children stay in schools. So these are the basic needs that these institutions are trying to provide to the needs of these children.
Thank you. Argaw, quickly, if you can, tell me what's happening with the chaplaincy program and the prison ministry.
Yeah, the chaplaincy, that's the university chaplaincy, is a life-giving encounter or initiative for the young people who are doing their studies in the university. As they grow intellectually, they need also to grow humanly and also spiritually. And also the prison is also allowing these prisoners to have some kind of skill training and also accompaniment in their human formation, some kind of guidance and counseling services. So some of these prisoners who pass also the formal education and those who also sit for skill training qualification, they get a quite benefit from this chaplaincy program.
Thomas and Argaw, thank you. Thank you both very much. I appreciate the way in which, Argaw, you have worked with Thomas so that our visit to Ethiopia and our being together with the office in Ethiopia will give us a deeper appreciation and bring us closer to the people and the suffering of the people that we are there to serve. That's what this is about, that mission. And you've really helped us to understand that. And I'm sure it's going to be very helpful when we make our trip there. Before we close the show, I just want to give a little time for questions. I see that there is one question up there, and perhaps we could just bring that into our conversation.
Yes. What is the most important thing that people can do to help Ethiopia?
Yeah, thank you, Noel, for this question. I think the first and the most important need now for the people in Ethiopia is that due to the impact of war, due to the economic crisis, the first important need is that food support, emergency food support.
And let me ask Thomas then, when it comes to the ways in which we try to coordinate our efforts here, what might we do, suggest, request of our viewers here this afternoon who want to get more connected with the many programs, Thomas, that you are so familiar with, and with the communication that exists between you and Argaw to try to promote this and bring relief to these people who are suffering?
Yeah, me? Okay. So I think the first thing is that for the people in Tigray, they basically need relief support, who are also caught up in this very challenging and this difficult condition. And also there are areas like, for instance, in Kobo, that is the bordering area of Tigray, which is also affected twice by this war. They need also relief. And at the same time, also rehabilitation of damaged institutions, like the school in Kobo and the orphanage of the Ursuline sisters. These are also damaged institutions that need some kind of maintenance and also rehabilitation in order to resume the school. Now, the schools are open in other areas, but in Kobo and also in the Tigray area, they are totally closed.
Okay. Argaw, could you just share with the viewers a little bit, because you're so well versed in some of the liturgical tradition that makes your country and your people, in terms of their religious practice, that makes it so unique? Could you tell us a little bit about what the Giz tradition is, so that, and share that with us?
Yeah, thank you, Monsignor. I think the typical tradition, the typical religious tradition in Ethiopia is that one is that the celebration of the finding of the cross, the crucifix of Jesus, that is celebrated on the 27th of September. That is a great festivity of the religious tradition in Ethiopia. The second most important and so widely celebrated festivity is that in January, that is the baptism of Jesus, or the Epiphany. That is the great celebration widely celebrated in the country, which really gives the religious or the Christian religious significance in the country.
Thank you, Argaw. I hear there are several more questions. Perhaps we could try to address those questions.
Now that the shooting has stopped, can we do more to help the people in the eparchy of Argaw?
Yes, I think we are hoping now to resume this support. As you might heard from the news that the two confronting parts have signed a peace agreement on the 2nd of November in South Africa. Now, the second step of this negotiation has also started recently on the 7th of November in Nairobi. So I think this will give a way to reopen all the communications and also resume the provision of services, in particular the emergency supply to Adigrat. I hope, and also we expect all, this will resume at least within the next maybe couple of weeks' time.
Okay, thank you, Argaw. And I think we have another question.
I can't make it to the gala. Can I send my best wishes to Cardinal Dolan and Mr. Anderson?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for your thoughtfulness as we prepare for this gala, which is going to be a very important moment for us. The answer to your question is yes, absolutely. You can send wishes and greetings and prayers to us to honor both His Eminence Cardinal Dolan, who, as you know, serves as the chair of the International Board of Trustees, and Mr. Carl Anderson, the past Supreme Knight of the Knights of Columbus. So I would invite you to go to our website, and once again, there you will follow the promptings that will enable you to choose what you feel most comfortable and what you would like to do so as to be able to communicate your prayers and your best wishes to both Cardinal Dolan and to Mr. Anderson. And I thank you very much for raising that question.
Okay. Monsignor, are you planning on traveling to Bethlehem for Christmas Mass?
God willing, I hope to be in Bethlehem for the midnight Mass. I have received the permission to concelebrate at that Mass. That Mass is offered, the principal celebrant at that Mass is Archbishop Pizzaballa. Pizzaballa serves as the Latin Patriarch, and so it is a great honor to be able to be there. For that occasion, I also invite all of the viewers and all of the CNEWA world to please send their intentions so that I can bring those intentions to Bethlehem on Christmas Eve. As we turn now toward the season of Advent, as we turn now toward the celebration of Christmas, we are very much focused, and I would like to spend a little more time in our connections next month, really on a reflection on the child of Bethlehem, Jesus, but in particular to look to the child of Bethlehem to see the ways in which that has been historically for CNEWA such an important reality. An important reality, let me just highlight in two ways. Number one, God becomes flesh. God gets involved in the human condition, and that's what involves all of us. There is the theological, spiritual basis for which the journey begins for CNEWA, because God has chosen to get involved in our own story. And second, because for us, this becomes an opportunity to really review the tremendous legacy that CNEWA has in terms of child care institutions. So I thank you for raising the question. God willing, that is the hope that I have, to be able to be in Bethlehem on Christmas Eve to concelebrate at that Mass with all who will be gathered there. So let me just take this moment to thank everybody for this moment here, this November moment of connections. I thank you for taking the time to be here in a very special way. I thank Argaw Fantu, the director of our office in Ethiopia. I thank Thomas Varghese again for being here as our director of programs. And in a very special way, I just want to thank those who make this program possible, starting with Tim McCarthy, who is the director of our creative services department. I want to also thank Noel Saligsi, who is the director of our development department, Nelson Salcedo, who is here and who does so much for us in terms of our IT department, to Nick Lopez, our special producer, who has joined us for these moments. And finally, last but not least, all of you. This wouldn't be possible if you were not coming into the program. So I thank you for taking the time to be a little more informed, and I ask you to pray with us on our journey, to be informed about our mission, and where your means permit, to donate generously toward our mission. Thank you very much.